Oh my gosh. Hey, Crazy Dre Podcast.
Alrighty, folks. Welcome back to the Crazy Dre Podcast Show. Folks, we're going to talk about Detroit Pistons again. This is crazy. They're now 3-2 in the series. They went to New York. They beat New York Knicks on a 106-103 end of the result of the game. The mystery is Brunson. Jalen Brunson with 2 minutes, about 57 seconds left. Cade Cunningham goes into the hole, into the paint, scores a point. Somehow, someway, both of those guys, Hart and Brunson, both get hurt. They leave the game, and they never come back. Well, I think both of those guys never came back in the game. It looks like the New York Knicks head coach decided not to use his last timeout to put his main man on the court, which amazes me because Detroit basically kept the ball through transition, defense, offense. Both teams were either scoring or missing shots, and no one was calling timeouts. And that's probably what saved Detroit. Honest to God, I think if Brunson was on the court, I think the end of the game and the result would have been totally different. But other than that, I think Detroit did an excellent job with um, managing their mindset, and by doing that, they didn't get over frustrated with Brunson's calls of flopping or miss foul shots or miss shots or miss opportunities or the referees making bad calls. I think they did an excellent job for that in itself. I think Detroit, again, you're going to be the team that no one's going to like, that no one has to respect. You have to earn your respect. I do think that in the beginning of the game, both teams were really sloppy, not making any shots, one and dones, a lot of dribble, 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 pass the ball, and then just throw the ball up, and the other team gets the defense rebound. I do think that sometimes uh, when you have to cover Carr Anthony, he's a big guy, and I think that Tobias Harris, uh, he's just not physically or big enough to take on that um, challenge. I think it's very difficult. I think Detroit's going to have to uh, figure out a way to somehow slow him down. I think if Carr Anthony figures out that he should be in the paint more, it could be a game changing thing for New York Knicks. But saying that, what do you do? Do you put do you keep putting Tobias Harris on him? Do you put Isaiah Stewart if he's not injured? Do you do that? That's the question. If Isaiah Stewart's on him, will Isaiah lose his mind? Will he get over frustrated? Will he exhibit bad behavior or bad fouls and bad opportunity? That's something that you have to really think about when you put Isaiah Stewart back in the game. Paul Reed, he's basically a good enough utility player, but physically, he's just not that big of a mass of a man. So you're going to have to put Paul Reed in the game more to slow down Carr Anthony. I think Carr Anthony makes big shots and big moments. I think if Detroit can control the tempo of the game and not allow them or themselves not to lose conscience during transition off the defense, that's where Carr Anthony becomes the most dangerous player on the court, other than Bronson. But it's usually Carr Anthony after the transition fast breaks. The ball is dished around a little bit and goes back to the 3-point line, and there's Carr Anthony out there. So that's something to consider, to realizing that if you slow the game down for Detroit, Detroit will control the tempo and they'll not have that moment of New York Knicks scoring off fast break points or Carl Anthony um, going over and above his ability. Um, I do think that I will go through some of the stats. I think Kate Cunningham, he he seemed to have a pretty good game, 24 points, uh, 6 for 17. Both Brunson and Kate Cunningham are struggling on the court, um, but um, Cade made a huge 3-point shot towards the end of the fourth quarter, about maybe 2.5 minutes left in the game. His free throws, that's good that he's 11 for 12. The point is that Detroit needs to be on the free throw line as much as possible. Um, Defense rebounds, 7, 1 for offense rebounds for Cade. Tobias Harris had 17 points. Um, Usher Thompson surprised me. He had 22 points, um, 6 for 12 on the free throws. It could be a little higher. I think if he made 4 or 5 more, the score would be obviously a lot different. Um, 8 for 10 on the field, on the court. I think one of the things that, again, when I talk about Asher Thompson, is that he plays better when the ball is on transition fast break basketball. Okay, he just does. I think his defense comes in with the opportunity to become an in transition fast break basketball. One thing I did see in the game with Thompson though is that he over he became overconfident, and then during the fast break he just went from north to south and went right to the basket and got blocked. It was in those type of situations you want to kind of slow the game down a little bit. That's just what I've noticed about him. Um, Let the game come to you. Tim Hardaway, 34 minutes, 8 points. Again, I question why Tim Hardaway is starting. I think that, in my opinion, I would have Beasley starting. I would even have Shorter, Dennis Shorter. I can't pronounce that name correctly. So sorry, Mr. Dennis. I think he should be coming off the bench as a point guard to Kay Cunningham. But um, Ron Holland, I think he's just. I would like to Ron Holland as a small forward shooting guard. A lot of people, kind of question that idea from me, but Tim Hardaway, he's just, this is why Dallas didn't sign him um, last year, because he's just he's just not consistent. So there's something that um, there's just something about him. I just don't think that he's just not the guy for us. I think he'll come back in the next game, but I think he needs 8 to 10 or 12 points every game. And to go 24 points to 8, uh, even though his plus minus ratio was 15, because no turnovers or anything like that, he protected the ball. I think that says something. So he didn't have any turnovers. So maybe that there's something I'm not seeing that the coach for Detroit, JB, sees in him that I don't really see it. Um, if you look at the stats, and I'm gonna just go over the stats um, right now with you guys. I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna change this camera scene. I think what I want to do is go to this camera, because this way I'll be both and I won't be covering a certain spot on the camera. But field goal, Detroit 36 for 85, Knicks 39 for 90, 42% for Detroit, 43%. 3 points again, um, 27%, 36% for the Knicks. Both teams, Detroit 8 for 29 and Knicks 9 for 25. I do question again, too many 3 pointers. You can't live and die by the 3 pointers. I think that's the NBA. I think you're just going to have to learn how to play basketball in the paint or hit your 12, 15, 13 footers. I mean, that's what Cade Cunningham does pretty well. That's something that most people kind of ignore of him. He gets a lot of points in the paint, but it's a lot of times he'll hit that 13, 14 footer. Uh, the free throws, Detroit was at the line 36 times. This is something I said last game that Detroit needed more of to get to the line. This is something that is crucial. There's uh, 26 points right there, folks. 26 points on the free throw line. The Knicks, 16 for 27 at 59%. Detroit, 72%. But if Detroit slows the game down and get to the free throw line, that helps them out. So having those 26 points off the free throw line is huge. Um, if you go with the rebounds, 45, 49 for the Knicks, 45 for Detroit. Defense rebounds, 33, 12 for Detroit. I do think Detroit needs to be a little bit better with their offense rebounds. I think they're all right with their defense rebounds at this rate. The assist is 21. This means the ball is being moving around, and this is good that Detroit has 21 assists. The Knicks had 19, but Detroit, the more assists you get, the more the ball movement, the more opportunities for all the players to touch the ball and pass. It's This is where you want it to be. Steals 9 for Detroit, 5 for the Knicks. Uh, there was a play with Cade Cunningham in the second half that he ripped the ball away from Josh Hart, and I think that's character for um, um, Cade Cunningham. I like the fact that one thing I like about Cade is that he's not as vocal as some other players like Butler for the Warriors or any other player that's on the Indiana Pacers or Milwaukee Bucks. He's just kind of in his own mindset, tempo. That's something that goes a long ways for a very young player. We're not the Detroit Bad Boys. That's not the same era. We're not the Chauncey Billups or Ben Wallace or Rasheed Wallace, the 2004 championship team. We're just not that team. Um, and I think that's important for Detroit fans and very important for Detroit players on this team and next year's team and the following year's team to understand you don't have to identify with a persona that was 40 years ago. That's just not who we are now. Um, Going back to the um, stats, we got total turnovers 14 for Detroit. It's low. It's better. It's good. 14. I don't remember what we had last game. I think we had more this game than last game. So, uh, points conceded off turnovers 19 for Detroit, 12 for the Knicks. Um, that's his, this is so if you take the numbers from points conceded 19 and you take the free throws points that you made, that's how you do your plus minus in that ratio. So technically, we were only up 6 points in that ratio in itself. Um, Points in the paint: 48 for Detroit, 52 for the Knicks. Um, a lot of this 52 points of the game was a lot of rebounds from the Knicks and Carl Anthony. Um, Fouls: 24 for Detroit. Uh, Detroit had a couple of technical fouls. Again, I think one of them was JB Bickerstaff. I think again, it's important that you control your your behavior. It can create either a positive energy or negative energy. And I get that you're trying to fight for the team and miss calls or bad fouls or anything like that. But I would tell you this: if it's a bad call, then say something. But to drag it on, it's over. And I think that's important for Detroit Pistons um, uh, team or the Detroit Lions and the Red Wings and the Tigers. that if things don't go for you in that moment has already passed you by. There's no reason to just keep lingering and arguing with the umpire, the referee, the field referee if you're Detroit Lion fans. Uh, that's something that is very important for Detroit. This isn't the bad boy era. This is not your grandpa's basketball with Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Thomas being the authority on the court, and they allow people to brawl it out. And that's just not what it is. That's just really never going to be in that um, perspective. Um, but Detroit did an excellent job. They went into the garden. They changed the the they changed the game plan a little bit. They slowed the game down a little bit. They didn't get frustrated. They didn't get overwhelmed. They didn't uh, they didn't do all the negative things that you think a very young team would have done. I think I think you're going to have to in the next game, game 6. You're going to have to put Isaiah Stewart in the game a little bit just for the rebounds and going towards the basket off defense and offensive rebounds. I think that's something that there'll be key moments where you just need him in there for like 3 to 4 minutes or 2 minutes, and then you take him out. Because one thing about Isaiah Stewart, he's not really an offensive player. So that's something to think about. Again, I think a lot of times Detroit doesn't play him because of his emotional state of mind on the court. And Ron Holland the third, I think, or the second, he's the same way too. So if those two guys can kind of control their mindset on the court and not allow the moment to interrupt their game, Detroit should be all right. But Detroit will be playing the New York Knicks at home on Thursday, so stay tuned. Peace, love, and thank you for listening to Crazy Dre podcast show. It was a little lackluster, but it's about facts, folks. So peace, love, Crazy Dre podcast show, Spotify, Apple Podcast. That's where you can find it. I'm out. Take care.